It was based on the parceling out of land and the agricultural sector to the Afrikaner. Soon after, the two foreign forces joined hands and enacted the 1913 Land Act to restrict Africans firstly to only 7% of the land and then later to 13%. This brutal land dispossession process was in part fueled by the need for cheap African labor. So long as Africans had land, they would not work for a settler colonialist. The colonialist settlers then took our land and enforced all manner of taxes payable by the currency of the settlers. This triggered the Bambata resistance war over land. Land dispossession and the destruction of agricultural sector go hand in hand. We can't talk about reforming agricultural sector without talking about land reform. This is the challenge a progressive government will recognize. Land and agri are Siamese twins. The budget vote doesn't contribute to dismantling the apartheid and colonial agricultural sector, which is economically highly ineffective, contributing only 2.9% to the GDP. The white-dominated agricultural sector is highly inefficient and as exemplified by its contribution to the GDP. If anything, this budget vote should have addressed the plight of the 5,000 currently unemployed agricultural professional assistants. The department sends our children to agricultural colleges. When they finish, they are sent home to be destroyed by unemployment. This is a betrayal of our children and confirmation that this department serves white agriculture at the expense of Black needs. The sad thing about these 5,000 Black young professionals is that the portfolio committee has committed to supporting them. It is minuted. But right now in this budget, we are talking about supporting about 320 instead of the 5,000. This is a serious betrayal of these young Black people, which were sent to colleges. They got the education. Now they are sitting at home. We must all bow our heads in shame. All the entities under the department are biased towards supporting white commercial agriculture. This includes exports and the vaccine production and distribution. The Department of Agriculture needs a massive transformation process in order to serve the interests of the 2 million Black small-scale farmers. This department is a tool of global and local white agricultural elites. Right now, the department spends billions in litigation on behalf of global multinationals who team up with local white agriculture to systematically poison the nation with GMO crops. Why is the department standing with these killers instead of defending the nation? Europe, China, Russia have basically stopped feeding their people GMO maize. Not here. We eat GMO in the morning, at lunch, and dinner. Little wonder why people are so sick. The national budget goes to this systematic poisoning of our people for profits. Until the agricultural paradigm is changed to more sustainable, healthier organic production, it will be unethical to support this budget. Local-driven agricultural models are possible. There's the jewel in Makatini Flats in KwaZulu-Natal. With systematic support, the area can kickstart a massive rural development and modernization process. But there is no vision or commitment to promoting Black agricultural excellence by this department. Support is lethargic and slow. The sugarcane farmers of Makatini Flats are betrayed by this lethargic support. It must be asked, Minister, where is the 10% commitment of the national budget to go to agriculture as agreed in Maputo and many subsequent meetings of the AU?
Thank you, Honorable Mkitam. Your time has now expired.
Reject this budget vote.
Thank you. Honorable Smith.
Honorable House Chair, members and fellow South Africans. Today I'm proud to reflect on the work being done under the leadership of Minister John Steenhuisen in the Department of Agriculture to showcase the DA's difference. Guided by 7 clear priorities, Minister Steenhuisen has championed reforms that are not only revitalizing our agricultural sector, but also creating jobs, driving inclusive growth, and empowering the next generation of commercial farmers. Participation with growth. At the core of his approach lies a firm belief in public-private partnerships. Minister Steenhuisen has forged strong ties with businesses such as Unilever that not only train, but also ensures a sustainable market for 100 emerging farmers of herbs and peppers in Josini, KZN. The partnership with SAB, integrating emerging producers into its Corona lime supply chain, is a shining example of how inclusive value chains can uplift emerging farmers while sustaining local economies. These partnerships have created pathways to profitability and job creation, showing that transformation and productivity can go hand in hand. Legislative and regulatory review. Minister Steenhuisen understands that innovation cannot flourish under outdated laws. That's why he announced a comprehensive review of outdated legislation, regulations, and administrative systems. These reforms include laws governing fertilizers and GMOs at the AVI Africa Conference. By cutting red tape and modernizing agricultural regulations, we are clearing the way for biotech innovation, safer food systems, and a faster product development. All essential ingredients for a competitive and modern economy. Improved market access. Access to markets determine whether a farmer thrives or fails. This year, under Minister's leadership, we celebrate the reopening of apple exports to Thailand, ending a 16-year hiatus. Our trade reach has also expanded into China, Vietnam, and the EU through enhanced phytosanitary protocols and streamlined export systems. These gains don't just grow exports, they sustain agri-processing jobs, foreign income, and rural development. Effective support for farmers. Support must be practical, not patronizing. The blended finance scheme has unlocked 5.8 billion rand in capital for 381 emerging commercial farmers, empowering them to grow beyond survivalist operations. Through the PPECB Market Readiness Program, over 300 smallholder farmers were trained in export certification and compliance. These exports are building a new class of agri-entrepreneurs who are job creators, not just land recipients. Strengthened biosecurity. Nothing threatens rural livelihoods more than disease outbreaks. Minister Steenhuisen has taken decisive steps towards national biosecurity by tightening regulations once he identified loopholes that allowed industry players to get away with serious violations in movement of animals out of disease areas. He also initiated a first-of-its-kind mass vaccination program to contain threats of avian flu and foot and mouth disease, with this protecting billions in agricultural value and jobs that depend on it, particularly in the livestock and poultry sector, where emerging farmers are most vulnerable. Advocacy for growth. For a growing sector. Agriculture does not operate in isolation. It depends on efficient ports, secure roads, and access to energy and digital infrastructure. Minister Steenhuisen consistently advocates for improvements in rural infrastructure, port operations, and broadband access. This is now becoming a reality with the assistance of another DA Minister for Communication and Digital Technologies, Solly Malatsi's action to open the market with the relaxation of regulations that allow for low-orbit satellite internet providers. The DA sees agriculture not as a sector on the margins, but as a key driver for job creation and national recovery, especially in underdeveloped regions. Improved food security. Finally, the expansion of community seed banks in Limpopo, Eastern Cape, and Northwest, with plans for KZN and Northern Cape, is a vital step towards seed sovereignty, food independence, and preservation of indigenous crops. These banks ensure that our smallholder farmers can continue planting in even the face of drought, climate change, and market shocks. In conclusion, under Minister Steenhuisen and the Democratic Alliance, the Department of Agriculture has become a beacon of good governance, smart investment, and inclusive opportunity. We are providing that with the right leadership. Agriculture can be the springboard out of poverty, a creator of jobs, and a backbone of sustainable growth. Let us continue to invest, innovate, and include, so that every farmer, no matter where they start, can contribute to feeding our nation and growing our economy. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Montweri.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. The previous speaker comes here, continue to sing songs of praises to individual DA ministers, living capable black professionals in the department, because without them, the minister will not achieve whatever that is in this budget. House Chairperson, the EFF does not support this budget vote. The budget vote fails to appreciate the challenges faced by the agricultural sector and does not bring any tangible solution to addressing such. Disease outbreaks remains a serious threat to the livestock sector, and emerging black producers are mostly affected by this disease. The department through the ARC has failed for more than 10 years to put systems in place to manufacture FNB vaccines, and now relies on Botswana to supply us with FMD vaccines. Minister, failure to prioritize biosecurity remains a serious concern. We must tackle the emergence of foot and mouth disease, avian influenza, African swine flu, fever, brucellosis, and continue to negatively affect the industry. We are in a man-made crisis of foot and mouth disease because the minister dropped the ball and dissolved a multidisciplinary team established by former Minister Thoko Didiza and replaced it with some task team of DA-led veterinarians, only to reinstate them, the multidisciplinary team, later when his preferred task team has failed. Therefore, we must locate the current challenges of FNB right in the doorstep of the DA Minister of Agriculture. House Chairperson, we have warned that this GNU was established. We have wanted that the establishment of the GNU, it was only possessed with securing business interests and for politicians to line up their pockets. And here in this budget vote, we see a substantial increase in the budget for the ministry under Program 1 on administration with a 34.6%. Modula stilo, bogodu jwa leruo bo tswelela go ama ikonomi ya naga le pholo ya barua kgomo. Mme morago ga puo ya General Mokhwanazi mo Sontageng e tlhomamisa pelaelo ya rona ya gore go na le segongwana sa bosenyi seo se tlhotlhelediwang ke bangwe ba sepodisi go tseela batho ba rona leruo ka nkane ebile ba sa itshubi ka ba na le tshireletso ya sepodisi. The two conditional grants, CASP and Ilima Letsema, constitute 73% of the total budget of Program 3. A program that should be at the forefront of supporting subsistence farming remain very silent on how they plan to support these key sections of farmers, with the department APP not having measurable targets for provinces on the utilization of these key grants. Market access remains a serious challenge in the sector, with both the department and National Marketing Agricultural Council having dismally failed to create market opportunities for our black producers to access market, forcing our farmers to sell their produce at the cheapest price because of fear of losing their produce. We are calling for the department to assist black producers with storage facilities to keep their produce and to be delivered to ensure that black farmers have shelf space in local retailers. For South Africa to continue to grow its export market, particularly for the beef industry, due to the foot and mouth concerns, the need for a comprehensive farm-to-fork traceability system is non-negotiable. This was one of the key conditions for securing South Africa export to China post-2019 export ban on beef, wool, and associated products due to FMD. House Chairperson, another ticking time bomb is the shortage of veterinarians, where we see only 60 to 70 veterinarians servicing a population of 1 million citizens, against an international norm of 400 to 60 vets servicing a population of 1 million citizens, and a vacancy rate of 45% in the veterinarian section in this high employment rate. We are calling for the reintroduction of the community service program for vets, and that this program, as opposed to what the minister has done, must focus only on rural smallholder farmers, as that's where the problem is. We remain concerned with the recycling of executive at the Honourable Board Biological Products, with the entity under DA minister continuing to keep pensioners who should be at home playing with their grandchildren, whilst many qualified and capable graduates languish the streets unemployed. The budget vote is not alive to challenges confronted by the black livestock sector. The livestock industry continues to be a significant pillar to the South African farm economy. Lebo Mabi is a young farmer in the Dr. Ruth Mumpati, with many other livestock farmers having to compete with heavily subsidized farmers from Botswana and Namibia, who have flooded the market with winners at auctions and abattoir, which has drastically dropped the price of winners to the benefit of those highly subsidized farmers in Botswana and Namibia. The department has not done anything to create a conducive environment for farmers to compete. The budget board fails to put agricultural colleges at the center of excellence and agricultural development. Agricultural colleges are collapsing for the last and been neglected for the last 30 years. We are calling for the finalization of agricultural college to a status of an institutions of higher learning, a process that started some 12 years ago and not completed thus far. We are calling for the minister to ensure that all agricultural colleges have trading accounts, and that the issue of articulation is urgently addressed, and for the linking of agricultural colleges to academic financial year. Land Bank received the largest transfer from the Department of Agriculture, having dismally failed to account to the department. We want to thank all political parties that supported the EFF motion without notice for Parliament to review the location of Land Bank as an entity of the Department of Finance. The EFF rejected this budget vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now recognize the Honorable Inkosi Kebekulu.
While the IFP commends the outlined priority areas such as farmer support, land reform, and rural development, we question whether the current budget reflects the scale and complexity of the challenges confronting the sector. Smallholder farmers, particularly in provinces like KZN, continue to struggle with access to land, mechanization, and markets. And yet, despite repeated commitment, support to subsistence and small-scale farmers still remains a challenge. We believe this is a missed opportunity to tackle rural poverty, youth unemployment, and food insecurity simultaneously. We note the strategic role of entities such as ARC, OBP, and Land and Agricultural Development Bank of South Africa. Yet several concerns arise. Land banks' continued reliance on bailout and failure to disburse adequate credit to small-scale farmers must be addressed. OBP instability and aging infrastructure threaten animal vaccine security, particularly for rural livestock farmers, which is mostly communal farmers, where we come from. I must also be noted, it must also be noted that South Africa faces foot and mouth disease outbreak across certain provinces. OBP is unable to produce vaccines and instead relies on Botswana for supply, which is unfortunate for an organization which was once producing and selling to other countries. The ARC continues to underperform on critical innovations, while its funding remains inadequate to meet the research demand of the climate threatened sectors. The rural development component remains underfunded, underprioritized, and poorly coordinated. This is unacceptable. We need visible integrated rural development zones, centers of local agricultural production, processing, and trade, connected to national infrastructure and supported by technical extension officers. South Africa faces increasing risk of droughts, flood, and soil degradation. And again, we should be seeing a reasonable budget for climate change, mitigation, and disaster response in agriculture. The budget and APP for not merely financially tools, they are instruments of justice, equity, and rural renewal. We cannot afford to fail the millions who depend on agriculture, not only for food, but for dignity and livelihood. In consideration of the comments made, the IFP supports the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Matopa.
Thank you very much, House Chair, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen. Agriculture remains the backbone of our economy and a critical sector in addressing poverty, unemployment, and food insecurity. This budget represents a vital step towards transforming the agricultural sector, empowering smallholder farmers, and ensuring food security for all South Africans. We welcome the budget's focus on supporting 180,000 subsistence and smallholder producers and advancing the commercialization of 300 smallholder farmers through the blended finance model. These initiatives must be implemented with urgency and transparency to ensure tangible benefits reach those who need them most. However, we call for the following key interventions to strengthen this budget's impact: National Agricultural Marketing Council, transparency on food prices. We urge the National Agricultural Marketing Council to proactively provide policymakers with clear, actionable data on food pricing to help keep food costs as low as possible. In these trying economic times, South Africans cannot afford unchecked price increases. The National Agricultural Marketing Council must play a more active role in monitoring and advising on measures to stabilize food prices for consumers. Agricultural Research Council, empowering smallholder farmers. The ARC must prioritize the inclusion of smallholder farmers in its skills and technology transfer programs by equipping emerging farmers with modern technologies, research-backed knowledge, and sustainable practices. We can unlock their potential and integrate them into the mainstream agricultural economy. Accelerating food security and blended finance support. The commitment to support subsistence and smallholder farmers must translate into real, on-the-ground results. We demand strict oversight to ensure that financial support through the blended finance model reaches intended beneficiaries efficiently without unnecessary bureaucratic delays. The Patriotic Alliance e dumela gore temothuo ga se fela lekala la batsayakarolo ba bagolo ba kgwebo mme ke tsela ya botshelo ba dimilione tsa maAforika Borwa. This budget must be a tool for radical inclusion, ensuring that small-scale farmers, rural communities, and ordinary citizens benefit from our nation's agricultural potential. We support this budget with expectations that it promises will be delivered without fail. Let us work together to make food security a reality and build an agriculture sector that serves all South Africans. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Boshoff.
Dankie, agbare huisvoorsitter. Ons lees van die eerste departement van landbou so goeie 4000 jaar gelede hier in Afrika. Ons lees daarvan in Genesis en die grondlegger van die eerste departement van landbou was niemand anders nie as Josef. Josef wat die farao se droom uitgelê het van die 7 maarjare en die 7 vetjare en die 7 maarjare wat so arm was dat hulle die vetjare opgeëet het of wat in die vorm van 7 vet koringare of 7 vet koeie was. Die maarjare het hulle verslind dat daar niks van oorgebly het nie. En dit is die werklikheid van landbou in Afrika. Dit is siklies, die klimaat is party jare wonderlik. As ons net in die vetjare kon geboer het, dan sou daar geen tekorte ooit in Suid-Afrika of in Afrika gewees het nie. Maar ons het die maarjare en daarvoor moet 'n mens beplan en daarvoor het jy 'n hele stelsel nodig. Die stelsel waarvan ons in Egipte lees is aan die een kant suksesvol. Daar's graan opgeberg, al die landbouprodukte is opgeberg vir die maarjare. Maar wat het toe in die maarjare gebeur? Mense moes eers al hulle besittings aan die farao verkoop, later moes hulle self as slawe aan die farao gaan verkoop en 'n feodale stelsel het ontstaan waar mense die huurders geword het op die grond wat eens op 'n tyd hulle sinne was, omdat hulle eenvoudig nie aan die gang kon bly nie. Dit is nie 'n baie goeie sosiale stelsel nie en dit is ook iets wat ons wil vermy in Suid-Afrika. Nou as ons nou terugkom na Suid-Afrika se landbou toe, dan het die ANC aan bewind gekom met 'n beleid wat die EFF en die MK-party nou nog baie graag geïmplementeer sou wou sien. Die vraag is hoekom het die ANC dit nie geïmplementeer nie, want dit was hulle beleid. Die antwoord is omdat daar genoeg historiese voorbeelde is van wat gebeur as jy met 'n kommunistiese beleid inkom in 'n hele landboustelsel wat op die vrye mark gegrond is en op private inisiatief met eens omverwerk. Jy kry wat jy in Rusland gekry het na die kommunistiese revolusie, of in China, of in Vietnam, of in Zimbabwe baie onlangs. Jy kry miljoene mense wat doodgaan van die honger omdat daar nie kos is nie. Omdat jy dink jy kan die voedselstelsel beter beplan as wat die boere op die grond dit self kan doen met hulle aanmoedigingsmaatreëls van wins en die vermyding van verlies. Wat die staat wel moet doen, is om die landbou te ondersteun. En daar het ons die onderste poort biologiese produkte waarvan ek sien dat ons in hierdie jare oordrag het van R1000. Dit is dieselfde bedrag as wat die departement verdien uit die verkoop van afvalpapier. Ek is nie heeltemal seker wat die rasionaal daar is. Ja, was wel so 3 jaar gelede R25 miljoen, maar ons het uit 'n ander verslag gesien dat daardie geld nie goed spandeer is nie en dat die back and close ente uit Botswana ingevoer word teen so wat 10 maal wat dit hier vervaardig moes word. Nou moet ek daarom sê dat ons die departement behoort geluk te wens met die opheffing van die beperkings wat daar gelê is, wat eintlik 'n ekonomiese ramp was in sekere gebiede waar dit in Noord-Natal nog voortgaan. Maar die inwerkingstelling van onderste poort om regtig sy werk te doen. Ek sien hy sit op 'n hele hoop kontant en op 'n kapitaalreserwe van 'n paar honderd miljoen rand. Die ding moet tog reg gesien kan word. En dan is daar die KAS-program wat nuwe boere moet ondersteun, wat so wat 2 miljard rand kry. En dan die Rural Development program by die Departement van Grondhervorming en Landelike Ontwikkeling wat 900 miljoen rand kry. Wie doen wat? In die hele uitmekaar haal van die departemente is dit vasgestel. Ten slotte kan 'n mens sê dat landbou in Suid-Afrika sekerlik die ingewikkeldste industrie is.
Dankie Dr. Boshoff. Honorable Trollip.
House Chair, Action SA thanks the committee, the chairperson, and the support staff for the compilation of this report. We will consider supporting this budget. For a department that supports the only sector to show any meaningful growth in the first quarter of this year, one would venture that it deserves a greater allocation from the fiscus. However, underspending on conditional grants and agri-BEE militates against this. These gains, however, are related more to good fortune, good rains, rather than good governance. And the resilience of the commercial agricultural sector that has become resilient and self-sustaining due to the fact that they get little to no departmental support outside of some market access assistance and advocacy. The department's focus on supporting farmers with resource infrastructure, strengthening biosecurity and disease control, advocacy for rural development and agricultural growth is reflected in the lion's share of this department's budget allocated to these objectives under Program 2 and 3. Program 2 is responsible for biosecurity, inspection, quarantine, plant and animal production. This remains severely underfunded and is a matter of concern. And just for the record, China and Russia do use GMOs. It also focuses on natural resources and disaster management, focusing on sustainable land management and land care, which deals with control of erosion and conservation. This is neglected at our long-term peril. An objective and honest assessment of these responsibilities would recognize that the department's performance in these regards is suboptimal, to say the least. This means that our finite and primary production resources are not adequately protected, and our local and export markets are vulnerable to disease outbreaks, which is the greatest threat to economic growth and job creation, and consumer health and safety. Here we wish to raise the alarm that the ARC and OBP are seemingly out of their depth and cannot fulfill their responsibility. The recent announcements about the lifting of disease management areas for foot and mouth disease in the Eastern Cape and Limpopo are welcomed. But the biosecurity risks related to foot and mouth disease remain high, and recent recognition and acclaim given to the responsible manager in a portfolio committee is premature, especially as we rely on the importation of vaccines from a neighboring country that is our greatest competitor. This is a major risk area. Critical lack of veterinarians and animal health technicians only compounds the poor performance of the ARC and OBP. If this sounds unfair, allow me to quote from Malcolm X, who said, "I'm for truth, no matter who tells it." Program 3 deals with food security and support. Our committee's oversight and my personal experience, reinforced by the Auditor General of South Africa, showed that CASP and Elima Litsima grant funding programs are literally metaphoric black holes or siphons for wasteful expenditure with very little effort of real transformation, improved agricultural production, and infrastructural resource support. Hence our over-reliance on imports, and that is going to come at a major cost with the new 30% tariff imposition by the USA. There are just too many examples of wasteful expenditure. Support programs and funding don't reach beneficiaries timelessly, and bureaucratic carelessness compromises improved production and transformation endeavors. This too we observed at our oversight endeavors. The partnership with the Land Bank through the blended finance scheme is a matter of serious concern, not only because they don't even bother to report on the use of funds transferred to them, but the department transferred to them by the department as per the Auditor General of South Africa. What we witnessed firsthand was detachment and questionable value for money in the acquisition of farms for land reform beneficiaries. This needs urgent remediation. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honourable the Deputy Minister of Agriculture.
Uyakuphi? Ujwayela kabi. Ugogo lo. Honorable Chair, honorable members of the House, all ministers and deputy ministers present, chairpersons of portfolio committees of Government of National Unity, our premiers in the country, amakhosi, nabo bonke abantu ababalulekileyo elizweni lethu. An African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, we better go together. This highlights the benefit of teamwork, cooperation, and that will lead to a lasting success, as well as significant achievements attained through a collective action over the quick individual results that you will seek when you go it alone. I would want to add, honorable members, that it does not have to go to a team doing a teamwork and pick a few and then appraise them and say they are doing the best, as if they were alone. If we leave that, there will be peace here at home. Secondly, the Department of Agriculture is actually taking the latter, that is walking along as a department with all other departments. If I wanted to have, as a deputy minister, a borehole and irrigation in a small village, what would I do without the Ministry of Agriculture? There are so many examples we've given. I'm calling for unity, and I'm also calling for a collective action to fight all the ills that we have spoken about. Honorable members, in this, when we say we want to collaborate and work together with all departments, we include the sphere of local government. We cannot jump here from national and go to a corner in Northwest and do some work without involving the local government executives in that particular area, as well as collaborating with traditional leaders in that particular area for better, quick results and sustainable development in their own area. Those areas are not ours, but they are indeed that of the people and their leaders of all kinds where they live. Madam Chair, I'm used to madams. I'm sorry about that. We are in Parliament today, wearing indeed a new face and a new cap through the face of the minister, Mr. John. Yes, so no. Don't mislead the old woman. Don't mislead. We are now a reconfigured department, having finalized our divorce, but a very nice one, with the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development. We are coming now as that Department of Agriculture. And we believe our relationship with our ex will continue to be a sound one, where we will take care of the work we did together and also support them for the work they are still going to do, because we need that land. And as the Department of Agriculture, we stand firm that whenever there is an indication that land will be handed over to a particular claimant, we will be there, understanding what the needs are and actually developing that land for the benefit of the poor. Honorable Chair, we also bringing to this table, this Parliament, focus on the cutting edge plans to propel forward agricultural development, trade, growth, and food and national food security, aligned with the national priorities of the 7 administration, of which I won't repeat. The minister has actually alluded to that, and I support it as a deputy minister in that particular area, because those 7 guide the government of national unity. We want equality as that structure, which is temporal though. We also want to ensure that the principles that are set by the president through the the government of national unity must be implemented, particularly passing sizivotele the transparent those laws imithetho le efuna ukuba makubekho inguqu kude kulinganwe. Singalonto apha singoma kulinganwe futhi asithi makususwa abaphezulu bayezantsi akumandanga ezantsi masihambeni sonke siye phambili kulento ye food security. In October 2024 ndifuna unikhumbuza we launched a national food and nutrition survey with States South Africa, which painted a gloomy picture of a higher percentage of households not meeting their food and nutritional needs in our country. And therefore, we must address that, all of us. There's no time for finger pointing now to say who did what. What has done, sikulento sikuyo, kusihlelo kusihleleyo. Kodwa, for now, let us move forward and never backwards. The Department of Agriculture is coordinating the implementation of the second iteration of the 2024-2029 multi-sector national food and nutrition security plan. Usikhange lapho ke, that's what we are doing. The plan serves as a single coherent blueprint which embodied collective actions and harnessed the efforts towards a common vision. I repeat, common vision, which is to realize the right to food for all citizens in our continent as per our constitution. As part of the United Nations Food System Transformation Initiative that culminated in a food system summit in 2021 in South Africa in partnership with the United Nations, Food and Agriculture Organizations, FAO, is coordinating the rollout, inclusive, multi-stakeholder implementation of food system and pathways. I really appeal to you. Good ladies and gentlemen. Lento yegadi ayidifuna amabhiliyoni. Ndingakupha imbuzi pha. I've got seeds from my own garden, from my pumpkins. Let us start with what we can do. Makungabikho mzi ungena gadi. Umuntu ongangami ongena gadi, masiyeni khona, siyomncedisa. Nami ningandincedisa kodwa mina ndithengi kuhle. I never buy food. And I will never. That is my actual orientation and socialization. Never buy what you can produce. I look at people pushing trolleys. There's pumpkin, there's cabbage, there's spinach. Oh, of course. Which ones? Where will we get funds to do that? The little we have, I'm not saying we have enough, honorable members, but if the social grant, when you go to collect yours, you carry also what you will sell to those who are coming to collect as well. So let us wake up. The time is not against us, but we are calling, indeed, as a member of this house, also as a member in the Department of Agriculture. I say the district development model implementation, which is taking place, though undermined in various areas, in 44 districts.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Metros.
Your time is now expired.
Approach to address service delivery changes. Diabulela. Nihambe kakuhle sobonana emasimini.
The next speaker is Honorable Thring.
Honorable House Chairperson, the ACDP affirms the vital role of agriculture in securing food, growing rural development, and building economic resilience. Food producers are the backbone of national survival and sovereignty. The department's 2025-26 allocation of some 7.6 billion focuses on infrastructure and biosecurity. We remain concerned by underperformance in supporting emerging farmers because few transition to commercial viability and many lack access to finance and extension services. The ACDP calls for the accelerating of agro-processing master plan and the fast tracking of blended finance to reach our marginalized farmers. We assert that regimes that dismiss the agricultural base through overtaxation, land dispossession, or neglect invite food insecurity, unrest, and ultimately collapse. This is why government's dismissive attitude to the systemic murder of farmers and farm workers is irrational or intentional. These murders know no color, and the ACDP condemns these heinous crimes as we do all other murderous criminal acts. The ACDP acknowledges the work done by the Agricultural Research Council as the country's principal agricultural research institution, with OBP having the potential to manufacture animal vaccines and in particular the foot and mouth vaccine for the continent. On the intended poultry or the poultry avian influenza vaccination process, however, the ACDP notes the caution of Professor Tim Noakes, who mentioned that in the USA, the CDC, the NIH, and the FDA have all advised against the vaccination of poultry, noting that most nations will not accept vaccinated poultry from the USA. The rationale is that if you vaccinate with a leaky vaccine, you turn those flocks into mutation factories. One of the 3 vaccines given to our poultry, the vector immune recombinant DNA vaccine, places a live turkey herpes virus into a chicken, affecting the chicken's DNA. On the 6th of June this year, poultry vaccination began. 3 weeks later, on the 1st of July, bird flu was detected amongst our poultry. The ACDP would like to know the specifics of these poultry vaccinations. What are the contents and what is their efficacy? Are they mRNA vaccines? Have longitudinal studies been conducted on the effect of these vaccines on humans? As kingdom builders, the ACDP calls for a just agricultural economy rooted in good governance and ethical stewardship. And until we obtain answers to our questions, the ACDP will not support this budget vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the UDM participating in this debate? If not, then I recognize the Honorable Ghana.
Or you'll take the next one. All right. Nakens, I'm Thomas Tool. Honorable members, fellow South Africans. This morning, I rise for the South African farmer. Not the one who spreads fear about white genocide, but the one who wakes up before dawn, works the land, creates jobs, feeds the nation, and believes in a future for all of us. A patriotic farmer, black or white. A farmer who understands that our destinies are tied together and who is committed to a South Africa that works. As Rise Mzansi, we are committed to building a safe, prosperous, equal, and united South Africa in one generation. And we take agriculture very seriously. A prosperous South Africa begins with a thriving agricultural sector, one that ensures food security, contribute to economic growth, and create jobs. This budget must therefore be used to expand access to local and international markets, to ensure that there's proper regulation, and support the journey from smallholder farmers to commercial farmers. We commend leaders like the MEC, Visa Ramkhopa and Gauteng, who has shown how to transform agriculture through empowering Black women and young farmers. We need more of that across all provinces. We also understand, as Rise Mzansi, that agriculture is not charity. It is a business. We must produce enough food, not through donations, but through smart support, infrastructure, and market access. South Africans expect this budget to do three things: grow the economy and create jobs for South Africans, end hunger, and bridge the historic racial divide in the sector. We cannot continue to be a country of two agricultures, one advanced, the other struggling. We need one interdependent agricultural sector that works for all. And as the world shifts, with markets like the USA under threat, we must leverage the BRICS and new trade partnerships to secure our exports and open new opportunities. Climate change, animal health, drought, these are not future threats. They are now, and this department must be proactive, not reactive. What South Africans expect from you, Minister, is for you to be the voice of all farmers, Black and white, and to use this budget to build a one agricultural sector for the economy that creates jobs.
Thank you,
for the
Honorable
people of
Governor.
South Africa.
Is Al-Jamaa participating? If not, I call on the NCC. If not, then I recognize the Honorable Maglatsi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Otso, Africa. The United African Transformation rise in opposition to Budget Vote 29. We do not reject agriculture. We reject incompetence. We reject ghost governance. We reject elite enrichment while African families remain landless and hungry. We do so not out of hostility towards agriculture, but because we are committed to transforming it from colonial inheritance to African instrument for food sovereignty, land justice, and economic dignity. The misalignment between strategic plan and the APPs is more than just technical. It's a political negligence. How does the department claim to fight hunger, yet exclude full self-employment and export growth from its measurable targets? The Agri-BEE Fund, designed to transform the sector, still has no monitoring and evaluation framework. What are we funding if we cannot measure the impact? Chairperson, the governance failure are appalling. The National Agriculture Marketing Council board expired in May 2025 and remain without replacement. This is shameful. The Land Bank continues to receive billions, even as it dodges quarterly reporting. The blended finance scheme is funded without accountability. We must ask, who is benefiting while the poor starve? On budget allocation, again, the numbers betray the rhetoric. Program 3, food security and agrarian support, suffer budget cut despite the department claiming food security is a national priority. Meanwhile, 2.9 billion, 88% of this budget is transferred to provinces and the Land Bank with no clarity on how it will be spent or monitored. This is not decentralization, it's a delicate dysfunction. Worse still, 179 million was turned unspent last year when rural communities in Limpopo, the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal go to bed hungry. It is not because we lack funds, but because we lack agency. Where is the plan to address our agricultural human crisis with thousands of unemployed agricultural graduates,
yet the department could only hire 230 extension officers. South Africa faces a critical shortage of veterinarians, but there is no training on the pipeline, no retention plan, no coordination on the Department of Higher Education and Training for Foreign Qualifications. Program 4, it's unaccountable black hole. 3,
Thank you, Honorable Mahlatsi. Your time has now expired.
the UAT reject this vote. Patni mambo.
Thank you, Honorable Oukamp.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, fellow members. Agriculture is the backbone of our economy. It is a cornerstone of employment, and it is a vital pillar against the fight against poverty. Our farmers deserve only the best, and this budget will take us closer in providing that to them. Allow me to extend our sincere appreciation to the Honourable Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, for his steadfast leadership and the strides that he and his department continue to make in transforming this critical sector. His unwavering commitment to inclusive growth, biosecurity, modernization of agriculture, and the pursuit of food security is commendable. Their efforts led to agriculture being the fastest growing sector of our economy in the first quarter of this year. This appropriation, Honourable Chairperson, represents more than a monetary commitment. As Minister Steenhuisen has said, it is a statement of intent. It is a call to action to ensure food security, to support smallholder producers, to enhance biosecurity, to expand markets, and to develop a sustainable infrastructure. However, it is also a budget that demands accountability and strategic execution. The Minister, as well as the committee, has rightly emphasized the urgent need to address South Africa's biosecurity crisis, particularly the recurring of the foot and mouth disease outbreaks. Our national herd, and by extension our food security, is under threat, whilst the Agricultural Research Council and Honest Report Biological Products have for many years regrettably failed to live up to their core mandates. The ARC's delay in constructing the foot and mouth disease vaccine facilities is a national embarrassment. It is shameful that over a decade after first receiving money, we still have to import foot and mouth disease vaccines from Botswana. These failures led to livestock farmers being left vulnerable, exports being lost, and rural economies suffering. While we commend the efforts of OBP to address backlogs and install new freeze dryers, the reality is that OBP is not meeting its vaccine production targets and continues to underperform. OBP's GMP certification project is years behind schedule, and management instability persists. Honourable Chairperson, the risks that outbreaks such as the current foot and mouth disease outbreak poses to food security and jobs in our country showed us once more the importance of getting these vaccines manufacturing facilities completed as soon as possible. The risks associated with not being able to provide these vaccines and proper biosecurity far outweigh the cost required to complete these facilities. We therefore welcome Minister Steenhuisen's undertaking to continue to liaise with the Minister of Finance to consider reprioritization of funds from underperforming programs and non-critical activities to address biosecurity challenges. Despite these and various other challenges, we must commend the Minister and his department for their strategic alignment with the medium-term development plan. The Minister's commitment to modernizing legislation, supporting smallholder producers, unlocking landfill production are key levers for inclusive economic growth, and his focus on increasing participation in agriculture by upcoming farmers of all races, expanding market access, and investing in biosecurity and infrastructure is visionary. Geagte voorsitter, al hierdie dinge kan egter nie gebeur vir solank as wat ons land se boere voortdurend aangeval word nie. Plaasmoorde, landelike veiligheid en veediefstal moet behoorlik aangespreek word. Dit het tyd geword dat plaasmoorde as 'n prioriteitsmisdryf verklaar word. Ons boerderygemeenskappe is onder beleg. En die wreedheid van hierdie aanvalle is nie net 'n menslike tragedie nie, dit is 'n bedreiging vir voedselsekerheid, vir landelike stabiliteit en ons nasionale moraal. Die DA wil minister Steenhuisen loof vir sy optrede om hierdie dringende saak terwyl sy gesprek in die FSA met president Donald Trump in die Withuis aan te spreek en die wêreld daarop te wys dat die veiligheid van ons boere nie onderhandelbaar is nie. Die parlement moet nou ook voortgaan om dit te prioritiseer. Honourable Speaker, this budget vote is more than a balance sheet. It is a blueprint for our country's agricultural future. It is a call to renew our institutions, to restore accountability, and to reinvest in our farmers who put food on our tables, especially now with increase in export tariffs from the US that were announced yesterday. Let us support this appropriation with a clear understanding that oversight must be vigilant, that performance must be measured, and failure, where it occurs, must be addressed without fear of favor. Agbare voorsitter, landbou is nie net ons verlede en ons hede nie, dit is ons toekoms. Die boere van Suid-Afrika, wit, swart en bruin, groot en klein, is ons land se ruggraat. En ons is dit aan hulle verskuldig om seker te maak dat ons hierdie begroting tot hulle voordeel sal aanwend. Met die leiding van minister Steenhuisen is ek oortuig daarvan dat ons daarin sal slaag. Ek dank u.
Dankie. The next speaker is the Honourable Davids.
Honourable House Chairperson, Honourable Minister, Deputy Minister, Honourable Chairperson of the committee, Honourable members, the Honourable members, the DG and his staff, the support staff of the committee, and also South Africa at large. Thank you for this opportunity to debate a budget that is central to our nation's future. The budget for agriculture. I rise on behalf of the ANC to speak about market access, transformation, and economical growth in the agricultural sector. Agriculture is not just an economic sector, it's the heartbeat of rural development, a source of jobs and dignity, and a key pillar in achieving food security and inclusive growth. Over the past few years, the sector has shown resilience and growth despite global shocks between 2019 and 2023. Agriculture value-added output grew by over 25%, creating more than 113 jobs, and expanding exports by 47 billion. This performance is no accident. It is outcomes of deliberation, people-centered policies championed by the ANC-led government. Yet we know that growth alone is not enough if it does not include all our people. The dual structure of our agricultural sector will, with a small group of large commercial players and a vast majority of struggling emerging farmers, must be transformed. We must break this divide under ANC leadership. Transformation is not an option. It's a moral and economical imperative. Central to this effort is the Agricultural and Agro-Processing Master Plan, a landmark social compact adopted in 2022. This plan aligns with the ANC Manifesto and Medium-Term Development Plan, focusing on inclusive growth, job creation, and rural industrialization. This AAMP addresses value chains commodity by commodity, identifying barriers and unlocking opportunities for emerging black farmers. We are already seeing impact in the food industry. We have supported black growers to expand pack houses and entered in export markets. The Maluti Apple project is a shining example of transformation in action, where black farmers now contribute to both local supply and exports. On the international front, our agricultural diplomacy is opening doors. South Africa avocados are now exporting to Japan, China, and India. We have secured new markets for beef in Iran and fresh produce in Vietnam. These breakthroughs empower our farmers, especially new entrants, to benefit from high-value global markets. Domestically, we have revitalizing local markets by upgrading 21 fresh produce markets across the country, particularly in townships and secondary towns, like our Honorable Deputy Minister said. It must not all be about the country, it must be about the townships and the secondary townships, not about the elite only, like the DA wants to claim. Transformation also demands access to finance and land. The blended finance scheme is in partnership with Land Bank and commercial banks have already unlocked 3.1 billion for black commercial farmers. Collaborative approach through the master plan has united government, industry and farmers, big and small, around a shared vision. We have also heard concerns about delays and bottlenecks. We acknowledge these challenges and are addressing them head on, streamlining approval processing, improved coordination between agriculture and land reform, tightening grant monitoring and adding firmly against corruption. Importantly, the budget supports agro-processing and value addition, crucial for rural industrialization. We want farmers to move beyond the raw products, to add value, create jobs, and grow local economics. Through incentives and infrastructure support, we are enabling cooperatives to process dairy, fruit, and meat products. Thus, create employment up and down the value chain. Furthermore, we are investing in young people by modernizing agricultural colleges, supporting agri-tech startups, and providing internship. We are cultivating the next generation of farmers and agri-entrepreneurs. We want young people to see agriculture as a future of innovation and prosperity, not a sector of survival. Honorable members, agriculture is a powerful multiplier effect on broader economy. When farmers succeed, transporters, processors, retailers, and the entire rural towns benefit. By revitalizing rural infrastructure and supporting market access, the budget stimulates economic activity and reduces urban migration pressures. In approving this budget vote, we are voting for a sector that uplifts, transform, and feed the nation. We are voting for more jobs, create inclusivity, and stronger rural economics. We are reaffirming the ANC commitment to build a South Africa where no farmers is left behind and no community is excluded from economical opportunities. The ANC has laid a solid foundation. The budget strengthened it further. Let us support this wholeheartedly, and as create transformation together, let us grow South Africa together. For the soil, from the soil up, I thank you.
Thank you. To reply to the debate, I call on the Honourable the Minister of Agriculture.
House Chairperson, thank you very much. I only have 5 minutes, so it's impossible for me to respond to every single one of the points made, but I do thank the honourable members for their contributions. Are you? Of course I am. Of course I am. Okay, yeah. But thank you very, very much for the inputs made by members from across the spectrum. Some clearly more useful than others, but I will try and deal with some of the key themes that were raised. Look, we have a problem with foot and mouth disease in South Africa. I hate to disappoint the Honourable Montwedi, however, that he can't land at my door. Unless I was born in 1892 when the first outbreak happened, or whether I was around in 1903 when the Camperdown outbreak happened, or in 2000 when the Northern KwaZulu-Natal outbreak happened, or in 2016 when the last and current batch was with us. It is a disease that has been endemic in South Africa, and it is endemic in Buffalo, and that's why provinces like KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo are particularly difficult to get under control. Letting the red line go was a big mistake, and adopting a lax approach to biosecurity has set us back clearly. And that is why one of the key 7 pillars that we've determined in the department is biosecurity is everybody's responsibility. In highlighting that, I want to say that vaccines are just one tool in a far bigger toolkit that is required to deal with biosecurity outbreaks. There is an entire chain that starts with surveillance, starts with the legislature and regulatory environment. And you've noticed we put out a new gazette on regulations around movement of animals and auctions. It involves surveillance, it's veterinary services, it's quarantine measures, and vaccination. So it's just one part of the toolkit that's required. And we have to get the entire toolbox right if we're going to ever get on top of biosecurity going forward. I agree, there is a problem with veterinarian shortages in the country, and it's impossible to dispute that. But I also think we need to understand that the Constitution makes veterinary services an exclusive area of provincial legislative competence, not a national competence. Our national competence on veterinary services is to deal with the regulation of the industry. That being said, however, we cannot sit back as the national department and just say it's not our responsibility. And a number of interventions are taking place. I don't know where the Honourable Montwedi got the idea that community service had been scrapped. It absolutely has not been scrapped. Never once, not ever. It is still in place, and we use that system to ensure that rural areas are covered by veterinary services. Do we have enough vets? Absolutely not. Is the department doing what it can do within its resources to ensure we can meet the challenge? Absolutely. The Honourable Imkama talks about the GMO issue. Let me be clear. GMO is not a function of departmental decision-making. The GMO Act was passed by Parliament, and our department's job is to implement the law as decided by our Parliament. And I am bound by that to do so. So if, Honourable Imkama, if you are unhappy with the way the GMO situation is currently managed, there is an opportunity for you to bring a private member's bill in the House, and I would encourage you to do so. But until the law changes, I'm duty bound to implement the law. Nkosi Sebetulu, thank you very much for your input there. I would remind members that the projects are derived from the ground up. Our department, the National Department, provides tranches to provinces. And so in provinces like KwaZulu-Natal, it's up to the Provincial Department of Agriculture to identify those smallholder projects, to identify them and to then make the case for them so that they can receive the funding that they require. And I'm very happy to work with you and the MEC in KwaZulu-Natal to ensure that we can address that. OBP remains a huge concern, and that is why the committee and the ministry are both so exercised in ensuring that we get on top of it. I'm also very encouraged by the fact that the ARC is working on a South African vaccine that will cover the SAT1, 2, and 3 strains of foot and mouth disease, so that we will in the future be able to ensure that we are self-sufficient when it comes to access to vaccines. Thank you very much for the debate, and look forward to taking many of these issues up further within the committee. And I would encourage members to submit written questions or oral questions should they require further elucidation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honourable members, you are reminded that 2 debates are scheduled to take simultaneously place today at 2 o'clock. The Home Affairs budget vote debate will be held in this chamber, the Good Hope chamber, while the tourism budget vote debate will take place in committee room M46 in the Marx building. That concludes this debate in the business of this mini plenary. This mini plenary will now rise.